Hi guys, welcome back to another edition of the Sugar Show with myself, Emily McGuire, and Corin Thompson. And with us today we have a fellow British person, which I'm very excited about. We have Sam Feltham with us. So I'm just going to read Sam's bio really quickly before we jump in. So Sam has been in the fitness industry for over a decade now. In 2011, he was named one of the World Fitness Elite Trainers of the Year in the Independent and USA Today. He is a best-selling author of his book Slimology, which I can highly recommend. He's
Me too.
founder. He is founder of one of the UK's fastest-growing fitness boot camps franchises known as Smash the Fat. He also has his own YouTube channel entitled the same, where he has interviewed some of the absolute greats within this field as well. So, Sam, welcome. Thank you for being on with us.
Pleasure to be here.
So we're just gonna jump right in. So normally you're the one doing all the interviewing.
Yes.
Like I said, you have your amazing YouTube channel. You've had pretty much everybody on there, so everyone
Including you
really,
guys, which is
including us.
fantastic.
Yay!
Yes.
So everyone definitely check that out and subscribe to that channel because they are really, really epic interviews that you had. So can we just start just kind of right back at the beginning? How did you even sort of get into this and where and how did it lead you to today?
It's been a rather muddled story, really. My professional career, I started out as a website designer because that was my degree at university. I did that for a year, got pretty bored at sitting at a desk all day just looking at a computer screen. And so I decided that just completely out of the blue that I'd become a snowboard instructor. Just because I was trying to look for other things that I could do, and I thought, okay, I'm a rather athletic individual. I like to have fun, and snowboarding is all about fun. So I went off to New Zealand, studied being a snowboard instructor for 3 months. It's actually quite intensive for anybody that hasn't done that sort of thing before. And it's quite theoretical as well, believe it or not. There's a lot of theory behind snowboarding. Um, and so I ended up doing that for 4 years, going back and forth between New Zealand and America and the Alps and kind of following the snow. So I was literally kind of in Game of Thrones where winter was constant. It was just absolutely constant throughout the whole year. And then after 4 years of that, I kind of got a bit of sick and tired of traveling every 6 months, having to make new friends, yada, 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 and thought that I'd come back to the UK to settle down. And so I was wondering what I should do as a profession. Didn't want to really go back into website design. So I studied at the European Institute of Fitness, became a master personal trainer there, and then moved in with my brother in London, and kind of was living in a box room basically for about 6 months. And during that time, I was able to set up my first fitness boot camp, which was Smash the Fat. And from there, over the past 5 years, we've grown to 10 locations, helping around about 5,000 people a year obtain and maintain a healthy lifestyle. And from there, it's been a rather interesting journey. A few other things on the way.
That's amazing. So, can you just obviously the boot camp's very much about fitness and that type of side, but you also take into the diet aspect as well. Can you just talk us around sort of what it kind of looks like, what the diet is, and how you bring the fitness side of that into it?
Yeah, so obviously the fitness bootcamp does focus a fair amount on exercise, but of course, when you become a personal trainer, you always get asked, so what do you eat? What do you eat? And you have to be able to give people something. And it was at the beginning that I really got into this, into diet and nutrition, and of course, like most people do, they come across Gary Taubes's book, Why We Get Fat. I didn't read Good Calories, Bad Calories at first. It's like, boom, massive big book. But Why We Get Fat is a fantastic book that gives you the gist of good calories, bad calories. And from there, yeah, I literally kind of was in agreement with Gary. So it's basically a low carb, high fat diet of real foods that we start off people with. And the one thing that I try and get people to do is completely remove sugar and starch for the first 4 weeks at least, which is approximately a month. So generally doing a sugar-free month is definitely the way to go. And it mainly focuses just on real food and vegetables and a fat and protein source as well.
Awesome. So we often hear the saying, you can't out-train a bad diet, and it's obviously a lot to do with nutrition and that type of thing. But I think sometimes the exercise side can often get sort of overlooked. So
Mm-hmm.
exercise is still important though, right? I mean, what else,
Mm-hmm.
what other things is exercise sort of good for, and why should other people
Yes.
incorporate it?
Yeah, so I'm sure you've spoken about this with some of the other interviewees in terms of why one starts to put on weight, and the main controlling hormone of that, of course, is insulin. Um, and the quickest way to reduce your insulin is certainly stop eating sugar and not eat so much carbohydrate just in general. Um, but there are other ways in terms of making yourself more insulin sensitive, and especially for the long term as well. Very, very important. Um, and exercise, I think, is a massive component in that because it's very effective in terms of affecting the mitochondria actually in each individual cell. It's so important in that, and we are creatures of movement. We're made and evolved to move, so it's part of our healthy pattern to be healthy. So in terms of increasing insulin sensitivity, things like strength training is definitely the best by far. You'll get some cardiovascular benefit from that as well, but then you can do some individual interval training as well. And then finally, I think really low intensity exercise and just leisure exercise as well. Things like long walks or leisurely cycling or even swimming at a slow pace are kind of things that are part of our nature, and we should try and intertwine that into our lifestyle as well.
Hmm. So, and just coming back to, so you obviously touched on sort of HIIT training and that type of thing. Can you just, for some people, we've obviously got people that haven't exercised,
Yes.
in 20 years. Can you just explain what HIIT training actually is and how, coupled with something like a low carb diet, how is this kind of, beneficial for fat loss, if you like?
Excellent. So HIIT, or HIIT as it's kind of known, is high intensity interval training, and it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's interval training where you're going really hard for a little bit and then resting for a little bit. At a high intensity. So you could be doing absolutely anything. You could be running on the spot, you could be sprinting up a hill, you could be cycling, you could be just doing some squats and some press-ups. The one thing that I do on a regular basis, actually, I do it before a shower, actually, so I do a little bit of quick interval training, is that I'll alternate between squats and press-ups. So you do 20 seconds of squats, 10 seconds rest, 20 seconds of press-ups, 10 seconds rest, and you repeat that 4 times. And that specifically is called Tabata training, made by the Japanese researcher Dr. Tabata. And that's something that, I think pretty much everybody can fit in 4 minutes just before a shower, most of the time. You don't have to do it every single shower. You could do it once a week. You could do it 5 times a week if you wanted to, but just a couple of times a week, you'll see some serious benefits there. And it's just before the shower. I always do that. It's just a habit of mine.
And would you say that something like that is okay for people to start even if they haven't, exercised in 10,
Yes.
20 years? Is it safe? Is
Yes.
it okay? That type of thing.
Yeah. So this is where I suppose the caveats do come in, and you always have to progress or regress the exercise depending on where you are. If you haven't exercised in, say, 10, 20 years, you're going to want to start off slowly. Obviously, I'm a relatively fit individual, so I can do high intensity interval training very easily. But if you haven't exercised in a fair while, I'd build it up very slowly. And in actual fact, I'd recommend, if you haven't exercised in that long, to go to some sort of fitness professional to teach you properly how to squat, how to press up, and how to lunge, and all of the basic movements, because I see it all the time in the fitness boot camps, and unfortunately, if people haven't exercised in 10 to 20 years, they're more than likely not going to be able to move particularly well, particularly in those types of exercises. So they need somebody to guide them through that and show them, to give them a good base. But obviously you can just start off by building up your fitness through walking, and particularly hill walking, hiking, things like that, and cycling and things like that. But if you're wanting to get into things like strength training, and other things like that, then I do recommend going to a fitness professional, or even actually on my YouTube channel, I do have tutorials of all of this. So if people go to youtube.com/smashthefat, I've got the tutorials for 12 basic exercises that I actually do in my my Slimology book as well. So I recommend people going to check that out, just to make sure that you're doing it correctly, because it's very, very easily done that you'll injure yourself unless you're doing those movements correctly.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. We'll make sure we link to all that in the notes and when we send it out as well. So quite often as well, so like with the diet, a lot of people, when they come to low carb, is very new to them, and they were used to very low fat. So I think a lot of people with exercise, they think going for very long runs, basically wearing yourself out, running for an hour on the treadmill or something along those lines, is the best way. But it's kind of not so much that thinking now, is it? So can you just sort of take us through what your opinion is on
Yes,
on cardio
all of that
stuff?
jazz. So I used to do that myself, and when you're a bit of a young gun, you want to try and do as much exercise as you can. More is always better. And then when you start getting into your late 20s and early 30s, then you start to realise, okay, I need to slow down a little bit and be a bit more smart about it. And so you don't need to be, running on a treadmill for an hour and putting yourself through pain. First thing is that you should mostly enjoy the exercise that you're doing. There's a bit of a pleasure-pain there, love and hate relationship that a lot of us have with exercise. It can be painful during the moment, but afterwards you feel great. I've never regretted a workout, and I don't remember that many people regretting workouts too often. So you always get a benefit from it, but it's difficult during it. But in terms of what's actually going on in terms of trying to have weight loss from exercise, and also get health benefits from exercise, you've got to do it smartly. So it's not like you can cycle on an exercise bike for an hour. Like on the exercise bike, it says that you've burnt 400 calories, and if you do that 7 days a week, then you lose 1 pound of fat a week. Not true at all. Doesn't work. Never been shown in a metabolic ward study. There's a really good metabolic ward study by Claude Bouchard, who's this French-Canadian researcher, and he put 12 pairs of twins in a metabolic ward for 100 days and got them to cycle for however long it took them to burn 1,000 calories a day. And he had them eat at what's called calorie maintenance, so the amount of food to keep yourself maintained at your current weight. And over that time, you had some people, and so they lost all the same amount of calories from exercise, but you have some of the twins that lost 1.5 kilos, then you had some that lost 5.5 kilos. According to the calorie formula, they should have all lost 7.5 kilos. So not any of them lost the correct amount according to the calorie formula, but you had a varied amount, even though they are supposedly burnt the same amount of calories. It's not that simple, and the way that I look at it is that it's all about this biochemical balance. And going back to the insulin factor that I was talking about earlier, the main thing with exercise and the weight loss benefit that you get with exercise is making yourself more insulin sensitive. So the more muscle you have, the more insulin sensitive you have. That's why we have a lot of bodybuilders that tend to be calorie counters and say it's really simple, it's all about calories, because they work out a lot, they have a lot of muscle mass, and so they burn through it like nobody's business. And so they don't quite understand, they don't maybe have the emotional IQ to actually empathise with people. But anyway, I just have a bug to bear with those people. It just really annoys me. Anyway, so that's what's going on with exercise. And as I said earlier, the best way to do it is strength training. Helps you build muscle mass, and you can do that very quickly. 10 to 20 minutes. And again, I have it on the YouTube channel there, with lots and lots of different workouts, from the ones from Slimology, but also other ones to vary things up and hit the muscles in different ways. And then in terms of HIIT or HIIT, it's more of a cardiovascular benefit to actually that you actually get from that. It can increase your insulin sensitivity. I do talk about that in my book, Slimology. At one point, there was this study that compared a group of women who were doing long, boring, slow cardio versus a group for 40 minutes, and another group that were doing it for 20 minutes of interval training. And the group that were exercising for interval training actually lost, I think, twice as much weight, and that correlated with their insulin sensitivity as well, the reduction of insulin as well. So it was very, very interesting from that point of view. So that's what's going on in terms of weight loss benefit with exercise, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is a good thing to point out with the whole calorie counting. And I think both you and I, Sam, have come across people in the sport world, shall we say, that if it fits your macros kind of thing. And you're right in saying that those types of people are, they're very well trained, they're very insulin sensitive, and a lot of people, particularly on our program where they're doing the sugar free, they're very insulin resistant. They've got a lot of metabolic problems going on. So for them, that kind of approach is never really going to be as effective as doing the kind of HIIT training and that type of side of it. So coming on to obviously another thing that we're focusing on quite a lot in the program is about having a healthy body but also a healthy mind as well. And this is something that Clara and I were actually just discussing this morning. So obviously a lot of people, they were eating a lot of sugar and carbohydrates. We get that really good feel good when we eat that. They obviously take that out, and obviously they are not getting that kind of same hit from the sugar. So exercise, as you said as well, we have a love-hate relationship with it. Before going to do it, you just think, oh my god. But you can actually get the same kind of feel-good from exercise, can't you? So exercise, how would you say it helps sort of with the mind and that kind of feel-good with yourself?
Yes. So, I mean, exercise is a potent antidepressant. It's probably more powerful than any antidepressant drug we know, but a lot of doctors don't prescribe it necessarily. They might, say, just get some more exercise and then take Xanax or something. It's like, okay, great. But actually encouraging people to properly exercise and enjoy it as well is a potent antidepressant. That can be through raising serotonin and the natural endorphins that come along with that as well. So that's very important. And then also, I mean, I hate going back to it, but in terms of making yourself more insulin sensitive, insulin in the body is a bit of a hunger hormone, and so it's going to drive cravings if you do have higher levels of insulin. And if you take that away with higher insulin sensitivity by doing more exercise, then you're going to be taking that away a little bit. There's always a bit of a balancing act with other things going on, but I think those are kind of the main benefits in terms of the mind. And then, as I said earlier, it's a natural act that we've been doing for millions of years, and obviously our body is kind of used to that, or our biochemical makeup is used to that. So you've got to play that as well. You've got to play that game, because evolution has kind of played us this hand, and you have to exercise to kind of have this healthy mind and healthy body. Yeah, as you say, you end up really loving it, actually.
Mm-hmm. Amazing, yeah. And then just coming on to, you also have your Slimology program that you've just released. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you're doing with that?
Yeah, so it's called the School of Slimology. So it's taken from the book. The book is called Slimology, available on Amazon and other places as well, I'm sure. But the online program is called the School of Slimology. If you go to www.schoolofslimology.com, then you can check it out there. It's a completely free program. It's a 12-week action plan, I call it, and it's the same action plan that's in the book, but it's online, and it's got a few extra bits, and also got it just laid out in a particular way that makes it very easy to understand and take it step by step. And then also you've kind of got all the workouts there ready to do, and also there's a bit of a comment section at the end of each stage where people can discuss things and ask me questions directly as well. And it all starts off with just 4 weeks of focusing purely on diet. You should totally do that first, because unless you're eating well, you're not going to be losing any weight, and you're not going to be getting much health benefit from any exercise that you do. Sorry, Karen, did you have a question?
I think Karen wants to jump in.
Oh, sorry?
No, finish, and then I'll ask.
Okay, cool beans. Yeah, you completely start off with that, and also something that I think is important, which takes us back to your question about getting in the right mindset, is finding your purpose for better health. I think that is so important, because you can think about it flippantly and think, yeah, I want to become healthier and lose a little bit of weight. So you go online, you search weight loss, and then loads of stuff comes up, and you end up in something that you might not necessarily agree with, but you're doing it because you have this idea that you want to lose weight. But if you find yourself a specific purpose to yourself, not a goal of, say, I want to lose 12 kilos in a year or anything like that, more of a specific purpose to you as to why on earth would you want to be healthier, why would you want to change your lifestyle in that way. And what I recommend people to do is to get a piece of white card about the size of a credit card, and then you write that purpose down on that piece of card, and then you put it inside your wallet on top of the credit card that you use the most, so that every time that you go to buy some food or purchase anything, you'll see that purpose as to why you want to become healthier and fitter, and then it really instills it in your mind. After a month, you can take it out on the program if you want. Some people keep it in just as a nice reminder, but it's just to solidify it in your mind. And once you sorted all that, then you can reintroduce exercise, and also fruits, and in the stage 3, which is weeks 8 to 12, you can introduce a little bit of starch later on, but it's kind of this progressive, gradual introduction of things. And yeah, if people want one-to-one coaching on top of that, then as I said, the program is completely free. Do what you want with it. But if you want one-to-one coaching, help through it, you want the support and motivation from myself, then you can get that as well.
Amazing. I want to know, so today I did a Periscope and it was about wigs, which is wildly impossible goals, right? Which is
Cool.
setting something for yourself that you wouldn't necessarily think is manageable, but actually doing it and achieving results despite your self-limiting beliefs and thoughts and feelings.
Yes.
So that really played into that amazingly well. And what I love about it is that weight loss becomes secondary because you have a goal that you focus on, and taking all the emphasis off your physical appearance and your body weight makes it happen a lot easier. But, okay, that's beside the point. What I love about your book and about your programs is that it's accessible and it's in a language that's understandable, because I'm not a scientist, so I don't get all that terminology and everything. And the other thing is that you focus on the fact that it's not about deprivation. So it's not about starving yourself to look good or perfect or anything. Can you take us a little bit through your personal self-experiment that you did?
So this was, gosh, it'd be 2 years ago now that I started this. And as I mentioned before, I'd read a lot of Gary Torbes's work, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to him on the phone and meeting him in person as well. Fantastic guy and great mind in this space.
We love Gary.
Yeah, Gary's fantastic. And the one thing that I kind of got from him is that it's very, very difficult nutrition research, but particularly when you're getting people to lose weight, because the effect is confounded by several things in terms of, is it calorie deprivation or is it carbohydrate restriction? But anyway, the one thing that you can actually show an effect in is weight gain. And so I decided to do these overfeeding self-experiments where I'd eat twice as much as I usually would, but on different diets. So I started off doing a low-carb, high-fat diet of real foods, which is my normal diet, and it's just shy of 6,000 calories that I was eating every single day. And I'd exercise 3 times a week, doing some HIIT training along with cycling to and from work, which is approximately a couple of hours a week. And then after that, I'd actually only put on, and my net calorie surplus was 47,500 calories, which equals, it's a lie, just over 6 kilograms of weight gain that I should have had, but on that diet I only gained 1.3 kilos, and I actually lost 3 centimeters off of my waist as well. So it was really surprising that it was that little that I'd actually gained, but the fact that I actually lost on my waist was completely unprecedented, really, to me, because I've always been skeptical of the calories in, calories out theory, because I can eat as much as I want, and I don't gain fat, or used to, anyway. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Putting it out there.
Which is terrible. And there's a fair amount of people out there. They tend to be these lean, tall, athletic individuals like myself a little bit. But yeah, so I've always been skeptical of it because I can eat as much as I want, and I've always thought so the opposite must be true. People might eat, the right amount of food, but they're still going to put on weight, right? Because we have extremes at both ends of the spectrum. And so yeah, this first one only put on just over 1 kilo, and then I did this second one where I ate low fat, high carb, fake food, so it'd be things like cereal and skim milk, sandwiches, and factory chicken and 0% fat yogurt, and I had lasagna and garlic bread for dinner every single night. But the good thing is, Emily, you'd like to know, is it was low-fat garlic bread, so it's fine.
Bringing me out in highs.
It's terrible.
Lasagna garlic bread together.
Isn't it? I know, horrendous. And so then, after those 21 days, I ended up again in a 47,500 calorie surplus. And from there, I actually put on 7.1 kilos. So I should have put on 6.1 kilos, just like the first one, but I put on a kilo more as well. So absolutely incredible. And I put on 9.25 centimeters around my waist, which is massive for me. And that's in 21 days as well, which is crazy. And when Dr. Asim Malhotra looked at my blood work, he said basically I've given myself metabolic syndrome in 21 days because my triglycerides rocketed, my HDL dropped to third, and in actual fact, actually, my triglycerides quadrupled, by the way, from 0.5 millimole to 2, which is disgusting, right? Kind of, yeah, it's shocking. And again, it goes to show that, yeah, carbohydrates are a real regulator, certainly of fat of blood in the of fat in blood and the body. But I did this third experiment, where I still did low fat, high carb, but with real foods, so things like porridge, potato, fruits, and things like that. I mean, it was very low fat. It was like 15% fat, so really low, and it was also vegan as well. There was no animal products whatsoever in that, and over those 21 days I ended up in a net calorie surplus of 37,500 calories, so actually 10,000 calories less, but I actually put on 4.7 kilos, so I actually put on a fair amount more, despite having 10,000 calories less than the first one, which totally blew my mind and kind of just proved to me about this effect of what carbohydrates can do and its effect on insulin and its knock-on effect and things like that. And that's why I think overfeeding experiments are very, very important to show the effect. Because, as I mentioned earlier, the opposite effect can be confounded by many things in individuals' biochemistry, how much they're actually restricting total carbohydrates, and yada, 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 which is why overfeeding experiments are very important. Yeah, hopefully Gary's organisation, NUSI, is going to be doing some like that, to show this effect in a more scientifically rigorous way, instead of just my flat in London.
And Sam, how long did it take you to get back to normal after doing that again?
So after the second one, which I should have mentioned actually, I did another 21 days of an experiment, and I went straight back on to my low carb, high fat diet, but calorie maintenance. I was eating 3,500 calories a day, which is approximately, what calorie maintenance should be for me. And so I was trying to maintain the weight that I gained. And actually, over those 21 days, I lost 6.5 kilos, so just half a kilo shy, eating at calorie maintenance. Of a low carb, high fat diet, which is rather incredible. And after that, it was, I think, probably about a further 3 weeks before I got back to normal. So yeah, 6 weeks all in all. And this is an insulin sensitive guy that exercises on a regular basis as well. Yeah. So I can't imagine how difficult it can be for somebody that's had damage over 10, 20, 30 years. So. Yeah.
And I think that's a good point to kind of add in there, is that some people think that the transformation is going to happen within sort of 2 weeks, but if you've been eating a certain way for a good number of years, it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. And I think that's what we're trying to sort of say to people as well. This is the start of a journey that could take you a bit of time, to get to where it is that you want to get to. So not beating yourself up and being positive with it, and adding all the different aspects in, with it. So I think that is some amazing information that you have given us there. And I think I'm going to ask this last question unless Corin has something else that she wants to ask. No, I don't see her hand going up. So for obviously with the sugar-free September, what would you say is your 3 kind of top tips for living a sugar-free life?
Hmm. I think the first one is to have that purpose. So that you've got a foundation, you've got an anchor there to hang everything on, and remind yourself that on a daily basis as to why you'll want to become healthier and fitter through having a sugar-free September. And then the second one is to remember that eating these fake food type substances are literally making you unhealthy, miserable, and all round giving you a bad well-being, and leading to many things down the road, and that eating the real foods is the real reward in life, because it's going to give you the real health that you're looking for. So always trying to think about it as logically and as reasoned as you can, and having your purpose there is kind of important. But as we are just only human, unfortunately, we are bound to give into our emotions sometimes. And one way that I have found can help with people is to make sure that before you give in to a craving, write it down first, because you've got this thought in your head, and it's going to keep on going round and round like a hamster wheel in your head, until you either give in to it or you punch somebody in the face, right? So what you need to
punch someone in the face.
That's right.
Sometimes that has to happen.
Yeah, that's right. Or you might just snap at someone. And so you need to make sure that you exercise the thoughts. Okay, you can actually do that through exercise, and that's what exercise is great for, in terms of actually exercising thoughts like that. And that's why a lot of people end up doing that. But that's another problem for another time, where people become obsessive compulsive exercisers. But when it comes to a craving like that, try and write it down first, and that's why I recommend having a diary. And actually, in the book, there is a lifestyle diary in the back that you can use to write down what you're eating, what exercise or physical activity that you're doing, and also any food feelings that you've got, trying to exercise those thoughts. So if you are wanting to have just a regular chocolate bar, you'd write that down, write why you're having it, why it's not a good idea to have the chocolate bar, and then hopefully that will convince your mind that it's just not a good idea, and then you can have some nuts or a little bit of cheese or something like that.
Amazing. I like that. Exercise of thought. I really like that one.
In both ways, both spellings.
Both ways,
well.
exactly. Yeah. Can you stand up really quickly to show us your T-shirt? Because I think I've seen
this before. Can you take off your T-shirt?
No, there you go. So,
this is a family show, Corin.
They're happy because they eat lard.
I love it.
It's a fantastic. It's by I believe it's the Lard Information Council.
That is brilliant. I love it.
Commission this, although that's not real. It's from a website called More Tea Vicar, which is a T-shirt website. But, yeah, it's fantastic. It's my go-to funny shirt.
I love it. And then can you just share with us where everyone can find you, social media platforms, etc.?
Best place to find me individually is on Twitter, at Sam Feltham, and then from there you can find us on Facebook at Smash the Fat, on YouTube at Smash the Fat as well. And as I mentioned earlier, I recommend going to my book online program, which is schoolofslimology.com, and you can check it out there, where you can also read about the book too.
Mm-hmm. I was just going to say, and the link we'll put up for the book on to Amazon as well for everyone there. So thank you so much, Sam. This was really fun. And So I think that is all from us. Do you want to say goodbye, Corin?
Bye.
Ciao, Karen. I'll see you soon.
Awesome. Bye, everyone.